we're gonna walk through the entire TradingView platform. So I created a very new account right here, and this is all the default settings. I'm gonna show you my personal settings for my chart, all the indicators that I use, how I have my panel set up, or just anything that I would like to use, and how to use this platform. From A to Z. Once you finish this video, you'll know exactly how you can properly use the TradingView platform. So overall, the first thing you'll see is a white screen. Depending on your preference, I prefer a dark mode. So if you go to this top left-hand corner where your icon is, click that, and then I click on dark mode. So it just looks more visually appealing to me, so I have that. You wanna have this drawings panels clicked. When you click it and unclick it, you'll see this left side panel. This just shows you all the tools you'll be needing. So lines, showing like Fibonacci retracement, putting text on the screen, you'll want this entire panel. Over here, you have other buttons. When you click on this icon on and off, it shows a watch list, which we'll customize in a second. And then going down, you can set alerts. You have different other tools. I personally don't use a lot of these. These are just added features of TradingView, like news and like other things that they use to familiarize yourself with the platform. So what I like to do is hide this entire screen. And right here we have the charts. So the default ticker is SPY. So SPY is the S&P 500, and it just shows that it's on the 5-minute chart. So the very first thing that I like to do is I like to make my chart have all the features that I want to be on exactly right here. So you want to go to the top right hand corner and click on this gear button here. It says chart settings when you hover over it. So click on that. And this is gonna be every single thing that is gonna give you all the settings that you need. So running through the entire list, on symbol, I have all these clicked. You know, these are all the already default. This is when you want your candlesticks to be green and red. I stick to that unless you want your candlesticks to be some other color. This is just the default colors. Then you go down and you see session. So session shows regular trading hours. So if you click that, you can see that you won't see those blue and orange areas. So I like to have my extended hours on. This basically shows you the aftermarket hours. So if you're looking at a chart on the 5-minute, this allows you to see the entire market open. So this is 9:30 a.m. all the way to 4 p.m. Eastern time. And then this blue area is aftermarket, so that's after 4 p.m. and it runs till 8 p.m. on that same day. And then this orange area is pre-market area. So this is all the way from 4 a.m. all the way to 9:30 a.m. Eastern time before the market opens. So these are very important areas for me, especially for drawing key levels. So I like to keep those on for the extended hours. So going back to this area, we have everything default. You can change these colors for pre-market and post-market hours. So basically these two, I keep it at the orange and blue colors. And then looking down, I just have the New York time zone clicked on, but depending on what time zone you're in, maybe you like a different one. I stick to the New York session since this is relatively what the stock market goes by. So everything's the same here. I haven't changed anything. Then we go off to the status line right there. And then you can see logo. If you click on that, really if you want to toggle on each of them, you could see how does that change, how does this change the screen? So if you click on and off, you could see this symbol appear. It's really personal preference at that moment. Title is important. You want to see what ticker is available. So I keep that on. You could have chart values. So you see these little values open up. I don't need those. I really like to keep mine very clean. So anything here, I have these on. I don't click on any of these for the background. I just leave it at that, but I don't know, it doesn't really do anything for me. Going down the list, we have scales and lines. So right here, I like to just have everything up. Really everything I have is default, so always visible. Everything looks good on my chart, very simple. And then looking down, everything is the same. yeah, everything, I'll keep it at that. You could change the date format or the 24 hours format. I keep everything the same. The chart already looks so clean and straightforward, so I'm going to keep everything. Then off to canvas. If you want to change your background, you could change it to, if you click here, it'll show, you could change it to a whole different color, and then you could change, I don't know, just changes different gradients from high to low. But I don't really, I just keep it to the default black setting. So if you ever run into an issue where you forgot what setting you have, just click on this top, these arrows, and then you could go back to whatever happened before you click certain buttons. So going down, if you are someone who wants to have a watermark in the background, so if you click on this, you could see the entire ticker symbol in the background. It'll show the ticker, the name of it, and then the time frame you're on. So depending on whatever time frame you move to, so say you go to like the 1 hour, it'll show up right there. I don't like the watermark just because it gets in the way of the entire chart. It's not really necessary for me, so I'm not gonna have the watermark. And then everything's basically the same here. It looks good. Trading, I don't really use the buy and sell buttons, since this is more if you connect your broker or you have your brokerage set with this TradingView platform to execute trades. But because my broker is on an entirely different laptop and I don't have my broker connected to TradingView, I don't really need to utilize any of these buttons. But anyways, if you click on and off, you could see this happen, these two buttons, so not really necessary for me. Click out of that. Looking down, really just keep everything. I don't really mess around with too much, because when I'm charting or I'm looking at the screen, if everything's already on the screen that looks pretty good, that's really all I need. Just after hours, pre-market, the candlesticks must be green and red, and then from there, how clean does it look? This is all I need, time frame and the ticker symbols, and then running through here, events. So events are very important to keep up with. The way you'll see events shown on this entire time frame is when you go to a bigger time frame. So you can see this more apparent on an individual stock. So say that we want to look for a different stock. What you want to do is click on this button here, symbol search, click on that, and then stocks. And then from there, I just click on, say we want to look at maybe Amazon. So click on Amazon, and then this is what you want to see. This is AMZN, NASDAQ. You always want to look at making sure that it's on the correct platform. So if you're trading options, this is what you want to click on. Make sure that it shows NASDAQ. So that's what I'm going to click on, and from there you'll be able to see on the bigger time frame. So say you go to the daily time frame, you want to scroll down and then go to daily, and we still have these settings up. But what I wanted to reference was these events. So where price is currently at. So prices, you see all these movements, all these little symbols right down here are the earnings reports. So any kind of E, if you see E, click on that. That just shows the earnings reports, and it's just quarterly. So you can see, what was the earnings revenue? Was it a good earnings? Was it bad? And then other than that, the other events that you may see is dividends, or like there's other symbols right here, splits. If it was a bad earnings, it'll show up as red. But you can see that all these events are shown. So I just keep all these up, all the important events. They're not really too much in the way. So everything I would say for settings wise on TradingView is what I've seen, what I've shown you already. So if anything's a little different for you when you click on settings, you can refer back to this, but this is essentially how I like to go about all my settings. I leave it as is. And then the next thing, if you are on your chart and when you're clicking on the screen and then you want to move this screen like this, all you do is click on it like with your mouse, and then you can hold it and then shift it around. But if for some reason the chart doesn't move freely like this, up, down, left, right, it's likely because these settings are clicked. So like if this is clicked right here, it only goes sideways. Even though you try to move it up and down, as you see here, it's not budging, it's going sideways. So if you ever run into that issue, make sure these are unclicked, and that will allow you to have free range of movement to see up and down movement. Now, looking down here, there's also another settings area here. If you click that, there's other things you need to go through. So going through this button, we see everything here. I just have regular marked, and then this countdown bar is important. This just shows you when it's clicked, that when the market is opened. So say that you go on like a 2-minute time frame right here, and then the market is moving. You will see if it is on like the 3-minute time frame or whatever time frame, it'll count down how long it takes till that candle is closed. So I have that marked right there. And then session, again, this is what you saw previously. If you click more settings, it just goes back to this entire settings bar that we found right up there. And then really wherever you hover your mouse, TradingView shows you what date it is. So when I move from left to right, here it says 22nd August, then right down here, 23rd August. So this gives you a really good movement as to knowing exactly what day you're looking at. Another thing is when you look at this panel, so besides those settings, we have this panel on the left and we have the top panel. So just going through it, if you click on this very first thing, this just goes to your account. So clicking on that, you see account name and then home. Nothing really to click on any of this. This is just, it'll bring you to other pages. So I keep all of those on. Then you have here, if you ever want to change different tickers or go to different stocks, you want to click on this right there and then type in whatever you want to. So say you want to look at Tesla, TSLA. Once you find that, you click on it and then it'll bring you to that apparent stock. Then if you want to, this little plus button, you could add other symbols that you want to compare to. I don't really use this feature at all, but say that you want to compare Apple, like that, click there, and then it'll basically overlap the two stock movements, but there's really no need for me to do that. If I want to see anything, it's going to be separate screens. So let's just go back and delete that. Always use these buttons if you ever want to go back and to a previous setting you were at. Next up, you have this time frame, which I kind of showed you earlier. If you click on that, you can go to all these different time zones. The ones I typically use are like the 2-minute, 5-minute, 1 hour, daily, weekly, but they show you everything here. And then if you want to customize a different type of time frame that maybe isn't here, say that you want, for some reason, 12-minute time frame, which means that every single candlestick is 12 minutes of movement. If for some reason you want that, you click there and then you can decide what type of type it is. So minutes, then you put 12 and then you add it. Next thing, going along right here, if you click on this, it shows you all the different ways price will show up as. So we have the default as candles. That is the most popular that any chart is going to be. It's candlesticks. But for some reason, if you like to see maybe more hollow candlesticks like this, if you look down here, you could see the candlesticks are not filled for the green candlesticks. Or maybe you want to do lines and evaluate something different, you could do that, but everything I use is going to be candles. Then we go to indicators. So for the indicator section, over time, I have started using less and less indicators just because I found that I don't need a lot of them. So the updated version of my indicator list is the 9 EMA. I only use the exponential moving average. So that's EMA. If you just type that in, it'll pop up as the very first one, moving average exponential. That's the only one I use. So I could just highlight that as favorites. Then you click on it. So once you click on it, it'll pop up right there. Then you can X that out. And then on the screen now, you can now see this line. So that is the EMA. And by default, it defaults to the 9 EMA. So if you ever want to hide it, you could just click hide right here in the eye. That way, you still have it on your settings, but maybe you don't want it on your screen for now. I like mine on, and to change different colors, thicknesses, what you want to do is hover over and click this little settings gear. Once you click that, everything you have right here, I don't change a single, all these numbers, it's all default. Then we go to style, and I like to personally have mine as green. So that's the only thing I would change. And then you could have this other thing clicked, smoothing line. I don't click that at all. I just have everything the same except for the color. So that's the only difference that I make on the chart. So now we have the indicator. If you need other indicators, some other popular ones are volume. So if you type volume right here, the one that only says volume, click that. It'll pop up there and you'll see volume on the base. I've kind of stopped using volume. Doesn't really tell me too much about movement so much. I'm kind of using a lot of confirmations based on candlesticks movements. So I'm not really someone who uses volume too much anymore, so I can delete that. Some other popular indicators may be the RSI. So you type in RSI, that's relative strength index, and so on. So whatever indicators you want, you could just type it in here and then click on whichever you need. It'll show up there, and then you could click on the settings and adjust it however you like, depending on the color or sizing. Other than that, if you want to remove it permanently, hover over and then click on this little remove button, and that's really all. It's just going to be wiped out. Going down this list, we have indicator templates. If you have some sort of special template you like with different combinations, you could make that. They have some default ones. I don't use any of those. Alerts, this is good if you want to, get alerts about where price is. So if you click that, maybe you want alerts on Tesla when price gets to a certain level, if it's crossing it, if it's going below it. There's all different types of settings for how you want to be alerted. So then you could click on a message that you want, and then when do you want to expire. So maybe at a certain point you don't care about the alert anymore, so this will just cancel out on its own. But for alerts, it's pretty good if you are maybe swing trading, or you just want to be watchful of, maybe you're watching a lot of tickers and you just want to be alerted for something. This is really helpful. Replay mode basically will show you, if you click on it, you can move your mouse, and then if you click a certain point, say we click on this point, right here it says you have to pay for this access, but what it does is when you click on it, you go back to a certain area, click the screen again, and then everything in this area that is kind of blurred out will be erased. So this helps you to back test or forward test. Really good for you if you just want to backtrack some movement and see how you would have maybe entered a trade. This is very good for studying purposes. But this one you will need to buy a membership, and then really the most basic membership, like the cheapest one, is good enough. I think I have the most basic one just for the use of this backtesting feature. Then going along, once you want to exit this entire mode, you can see down here it has that replay button still highlighted. So if you click this X button, it just gets you out of the entire mode. Another thing, we already went through this. Then over here, you can have different layouts. So when you click on this, you could, combine two screens like that. You could see in the windows, maybe you want to have a couple different stocks on one whole screen. You could have the same stock with different time frames. So maybe you want to compare the 1 hour with a 5 minute of the same stock, or you could do different stocks. This is what allows you to do that, but all of these are paid features, so you will have to get a membership if you want to be able to see everything at one glance. Then over here, you can see that it says new. So this just is like different layouts you could make. So Over here, if you click on it, nothing highlights because there's only one layout I'm on right now. But say that you want a different layout. So right here we have the 9 EMA and we have all these settings that we set up. Maybe for some reason you want a different layout where you have different settings, or you have different indicators. Maybe you have a layout for practicing only, and then you have a layout where you really use for live trading. That's when it would come in handy with different layouts. So if you want to do that, you click on manage layouts, and then you could create new layout. When you click that, let's name this main. So then it says open a new tab, save, and now it opens to a whole new layout. So then you see from here, there are all these different new pop-ups. We have volume, which we didn't have on the previous layout, and everything. So once you click on that, it'll show up all the recent layouts, and you can click between whichever one you want. So let's just go back to that main layout we were at, the new layout. Everything else here, I don't really use at all, just like some search bar. Here, if you click on that, you can see right there, it goes to a bigger screen. That's typically if you want, for your whole screen to be the TradingView chart. That's typically if you're not using the internet or anything, so this is very handy. Then right here, just other things that you may need if you want to copy this link, download the image, whatever. And then publish. Don't really use any of these features. Then going down this area here, so if we look on this, which is what we saw earlier, when you click on that, you have all these other, it says watch list. So this is when you can save certain tickers to this watch list. That way, maybe if you have preferred 5 different tickers that you tend to go to always, you can save it under here, so you don't always have to keep searching it in the search bar. So say that you want to have a special ticker, click on this plus button, maybe it's Tesla. Once you click that, it'll show up right here. It may be a little further down, so what you want to do is hold it and then start dragging it all the way up. So then the further up you drag it, you can move it to different sections. You see that this default futures, forex, stocks, so then maybe move it to the area that you want it. So I want to have it in stocks. If you don't want all these lists, you can hide this, so hide it one by one. Maybe you don't do futures right now, maybe you don't do forex, maybe you don't do any indices, so then you just have stocks open. But you can also delete this entire section if you want to. So say you don't want all the indices here, you don't even use any. Once you hover over this title, you can delete the entire list. Or just delete, and then it just removes it from the watch list. That way you can have a very clean section of only the things that you want to see. Then we go down this line, alerts. This is when you had set previous alerts that I showed you earlier. You can also create the alert right here. Then going down, these are other settings that I don't use personally. Maybe some chat rooms. So I don't use any of these settings at all. If you ever want to get out of this, all you have to do is click on whichever button is highlighted. So click on that, and then it goes back to the screen. Another thing, so everything on the left side, these are going to be all the tools that you need. So if you want to draw a trend line, if you want to draw the Fibonacci retracement, this is the area you would draw everything you need to. So just going down the list, the very first thing is, how do you want your mouse to be shown? So you can see here from how I'm moving my mouse, we have the diagonal, we have the up and down dotted line. If you want to change how your mouse looks, click on that. It could be a dot, you just see a dot now. It could be an arrow right there. I like to have mine as this one, that way I can see precise horizontal and vertical lines. Especially if you look all the way to the right, you can see the exact number where price is moving to. And if you look all the way down, it could just also show you the timings and stuff. So we have that as the default setting. Then going down, this is all different symbols. So if you click this little area, there's a little arrow, click that, and down pops up every single category there is within that little setting. So for the first one, these are all the lines. If you click this, it'll show you all the different types of lines. And right now we're gonna kind of create our favorites bar. So there are so many, and you don't always want to keep clicking inside to find what you need. So this is when you want to click favorites bar. So if you click on something like this, maybe use the trend line a lot. That's something I use a lot, so I like to favorite it. There's this little star icon. Once you click that, you'll see down here a star will pop up. So you click that, you see a star right there, and then another thing you see is this little button here. This basically shows you your whole settings bar as you start favoriting everything. So that is the trend line that we had. You know, you could have all the different settings for that trend line once you draw it. So say that you want to draw a trend line from here, connect it all the way down, you know, maybe a trend line break. You click this bar and then you can have the settings. So for my trend lines, I like to keep mine at white, and then I like mine a little skinnier. So you click on this, you get a really skinny one. That's usually what I like to have. Then down here, you could also have maybe a dotted line, different dash lines. I keep mine at a solid one. More settings, again, if you have this settings button, click on it and there's a whole other lot of different styles. You could also have text. So say we want to put down trend line there, it'll show up on this trend line. So like whatever word you want to type in, it'll show up there. That's not really a setting I need anyway, so I keep mine blank. But yeah, other settings, you could have alerts if price breaks this trend line, and then maybe you want to delete it. You could also press this and the whole thing is deleted. Or another thing you could do is click it and then actually press the delete button on your keyboard, and that will delete it as well. Then going down this list, another thing, so like you can toggle around with all these different types of lines. The other type that I like to use is a horizontal ray. So if we just highlight that one as well, here it pops up. This is something I like to use when I'm drawing key levels. So say that I want to draw a high of previous day, low of previous day. I click on this button. Wherever I click, it originates from wherever I clicked and it goes all the way to the right. So this is something that just gives me a highlight of wherever I click that line, it's going to go all the way across. And then of course, if you click it, you can change the color, and then again, all the different settings I showed you earlier. Then going down the list, other things that I like to use, I don't use any of these channels or like pitchforks, all of that. Going down again, we have Fibonacci, so this is the third one down. I personally don't use Fibonacci, but if you want to use it, you could highlight it there and it'll pop up in your favorites bar. Then going down, I don't use any of these whatsoever. And going down again, next one, other patterns, Elliott waves. Again, I don't use a lot of stuff. My charting is very simple, so as long as I have trend lines and like horizontal lines, that's pretty much the gist of what I use. The next one down right here, click that. This is the only things I would use here is like the long position, short position. This is when you want to track maybe your risk to reward. So if you click on long position, say that you enter right here, you could move, where was your target, and then where was the stop loss and stuff. So this helps you gauge the risk to reward. You can see right here, risk to reward is 8.59. So it's like, what is the ratio of the stop loss to the win? So this is something for visually looking at how does price move based on your P&L or the entire movement of the trade. Something that if you need to use, you could highlight it as well and have it in your favorites. This isn't something I use too commonly, so I know it's there if I ever need to use it. Short position, same thing. Then we go to the next one. This is the brush pattern. Click on that, and then you have, you could highlight, have arrows. The only thing I typically use from this whole section is like the arrow marker. So if you highlight that, this just shows you, do you want to draw an arrow this way? Do you need a point right? Do you need a point down? I typically use this when I'm charting, so if I know I'm going to be bullish for the day, I use these arrows just to give me a approximate guide of knowing which direction I'm trading in, especially if I'm looking at a ton of different stocks. I want to make sure that because I'm clicking on so many, I know essentially the idea of what my bias was in that particular ticker. Then going down, we also have just other arrows, rectangles you could draw. I do use the circle a bit, so I'm going to favorite that, and I do use path quite a bit. So I highlighted both of them. So I use the circle just to show myself when I'm in a trade, where did I enter maybe, and then where did I exit, especially if I'm recording the trade. So if I'm taking screenshots and documenting how did I execute this trade, this just gives me a visual understanding in the future if I'm studying, and then I can recall, what date did I trade, how did I execute, and then I can study it. So that's the main purpose of the circles that I like to use. Another thing is path. So I typically use that on the larger time frame. So if we go to the 1 hour time frame, what I like to use it for is if I'm trying to understand market structure, especially in my Discord, if I'm walking through a tutorial of how to chart, I just use this just to understand how is price moving. And because I use market structure a lot, this just gives me a visual of where the highs are and where the lows are if I'm explaining direction. Then another thing, going down here, I don't use any of these ones. I do use text a little here and there, so I put that as my star. I use that when I'm just describing on my chart, what essentially is happening. The other stuff I don't really use. Then going down, these are just like emojis, the little icons. Don't use any of them at all. Going down the list, this is if you want to measure from what point to what point. Honestly, I don't even use this at all, so I don't even know how to really use that. It really just shows you measuring, how many days is it, how many bars across. Not something I use. All these other ones, you can zoom in, once you click on that, you can see it just zoomed into an area. I don't use any of these. If I ever want to zoom in, I will drag my bar like this. So you can see here, if you want to zoom out, you just have to click on this bar and push it down. That way, you're kind of just zooming out. Same thing here, you go left and right, and then you can kind of just zoom out in the entire picture. So those are kind of like the main stuff. Over here, a magnet, don't really use all of this. A good tool that you may want to use is this one. So this is stay in drawing mode. Say that you want to draw a bunch of maybe lines or arrows or something, and you don't want to have to keep clicking, line, and then click again, another line, again, another line. This just locks the mode you're in. So if you click this line and you click on this button, you can click a bunch of lines without having to go back to this area. So that's just a little hack, I guess. But make sure you click out of it, because then if you're moving your mouse around and everything's getting really messy, it's because you don't have this unclicked. So once you click that, then you won't see it anymore. And then going down this list, I don't really use any other stuff here. But when stuff gets a little messy like this, and you have a bunch of lines and you don't want to have to keep clicking back to erase everything, or you don't want to click individual ones where you have to delete one by one, if you click on this, so if you click on that, it'll show up all these different remove 21 drawings, indicators. What you want to do is click on the first one, so delete all these drawings right there, and everything will erase. However, make sure you don't click on this part, because that will erase your indicator. Say that you accidentally click this, your indicator is gone. Oh no, you don't know what to do. All you have to do is click this back button and it'll show it back up. So just toggle around with all these different settings, and with time you'll find which one you like to use more. Once you find the tool that you like to use, go to it, highlight it, and you can add it to your favorites bar. Then from here you can move this bar around. Maybe it's in the way of your charting, so you can move it, off the screen right there. And maybe for some purpose you don't want it to be shown for now, you could just click on this and it'll just hide it. If you want it back, you just click it again and then it'll show up again. So really, when you're clicking any of the tools down here or on the right, if they highlight as blue, you know that they're currently in use. Other than that, These are basically all the settings I have on my TradingView platform. The chart is as is, I showed you, and then the indicator. Everything is, I use a lot of the default settings. The only things that I change are perhaps these individual settings right here, like the color, the thickness, right there, and then my favorites bar right there. Everything else, my broker's on a separate platform, so all I really do on this TradingView platform is chart out the stocks that I want, have the watch list on this right, and then go through them each day when I'm deciding what I want to trade for the day. So then from there, all the tools I need are here. I draw my lines, my arrows, and then I'm ready for the trading day.